friends, welcome back to She's in Her Apron. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 4 slow cooker recipes that you're absolutely going to want to put in your meal rotation.
So I have a 3-pound bird. I'm putting half of a lemon inside the cavity. Now I'm going to make an olive oil seasoning to go under the skin, and I'm using salt, pepper, parsley, oregano, and I'm adding minced garlic, about 3 cloves, probably about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, about 2 tablespoons and a half. I'm going to mix this all together, and I think I also put some thyme in there. Use any seasonings you want, really, just use any herbs. Anything you do, it won't go wrong. And I'm going to gently get underneath the skin of the chicken, and we're going to massage this in. So we are totally seasoning this chicken with this yummy mixture. It's really gonna make your house smell good. So I'm chopping up some carrots, some celery, and potatoes. I'm putting this at the bottom of the crock pot as kind of a base for the chicken so that the chicken is elevated a little bit and the juices can run below it. And we're gonna soften up all these yummy veggies with this, and they're gonna be delicious. So now I'm gonna take what is left of the olive oil herb mixture and put it on top of the chicken with a little bit of salt. And then I'm adding some quartered onions in there to give it some onion flavor. And I am just gonna put a lid on this, and I could either cook this on high for up to 4 hours or low up to 8.
The chicken is done, and it is just on warm while I work on some side dishes. The internal temperature needs to be at 160. When I checked it, it was at 165, so this baby is done. I'm just gonna turn it off and just get those side dishes going. And then we're gonna put this under the broiler and crisp it up. It's gonna be so good. So for a side dish, I'm gonna make some rice pilaf. So in a pan, I have a tablespoon of butter and shortening and a half a cup of orzo. And we are going to brown this up. Once it gets lightly brown, I'm gonna add the chicken stock and the rice. I like to add some veggies to the orzo. I'll add celery and onions and garlic. If I have mushrooms, I add mushrooms. Anything. I just love a little bit of something in there. Okay, it is lightly brown. Perfect. So I'm gonna do 2.5 cups of chicken broth. Okay, and then I'm adding a cup of jasmine rice. And then to that, all those yummy veggies. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. Sorry, the shadows, you guys, are so bad. A little bit of salt, some pepper. All right, and I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then it's going to simmer for 20 minutes, and we'll have rice pilaf. Oh, would you look at that? Okay, this is all done. We're ready to go. I'm gonna take this out and put it on a baking sheet with some parchment paper. Oh, look how good that is. The wings are just like falling off. It smells so good. I took half of that lemon that I put in out, and now I'm gonna stick this under the broiler, keep an eye on it. All I'm doing is looking to make it golden brown and the skin crispy. That is it. So let's get this in and under the broiler. And then here is what's left. We have the potatoes, the carrots, the celery. We're gonna just scoop that up and have it as part of our veggie and starch side dish. But I am gonna take this gravy we're gonna take the broth and turn it into a gravy with a little bit of cornstarch, probably a little bit more of the chicken stock that I used for the pilaf. So, all right, let's get both these things going. Okay, I just added some butter and some garlic salt, and I have it wrapped up. It's gonna stay warm like this while we do the gravy. Oh, would you look at that? It looks so good. All right, this is going to rest right here. I'm not gonna touch it for at least 10 minutes. I'm gonna let the juices redistribute, and then we'll carve into it. Look how good though. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. All right, I put the rest of the chicken stock that I didn't use from the other can in. I added some poultry seasoning, some salt, some onion powder, just tasted it as I went. Added a little bit more poultry seasoning and a little more salt, and it's perfect. Okay, so I brought it to a boil. I'm going to reduce that. I'm gonna pour in some water and cornstarch. Mix this up and just thicken up our gravy. There you have it. Look at that.
There's the rice pilaf and the gravy. Chicken came out beautiful, putting that under the broiler. And the potatoes and carrots and celery and onions were delicious. So we had a great dinner that night. Now it's time for the country style ribs. You guys, these will melt in your mouth. These are our favorite. It's one of Jonah's favorite meals. He's had this for his birthday for a few years. Let me share with you how I did this along with the Brussels sprouts. So now I'm going to make a rub put on top of the ribs. I went online searching for all kinds of rubs. That just led me down a rabbit hole, my friends. So I decided on smoked paprika, granulated onion, garlic powder, and salt and pepper. I used a teaspoon of this, a teaspoon of that. I could not tell you. I just started adding them together. So these are pork country style ribs, and I gave that rub a good rubbing all over both sides. Put it in the crock pot, and then I did this in layers. So this first layer, and then barbecue sauce, another layer of ribs and barbecue sauce, and then I just put the lid on, and you can either cook it on high up to 4 hours or low up to like 6 or 8. The longer you cook it on low, it's just gonna completely fall apart. Next, I am working on our side dish, which is the Brussels sprouts. So I cut the Brussels sprouts in half, chopped up some red onion, I already had some bacon, added some salt and pepper and olive oil and garlic salt. Give that a toss, put it on a baking sheet. I think the oven was set to 375, just kept a good eye on it. Oh, would you look at that? Look at these ribs. They are just melting apart. They're so good. I made some coleslaw and some French bread. It was delicious. The kids like a little bit of ranch on their Brussels sprouts, so give that a try if your kids are not too sure about them. Next is Janas Roast. So you need a brown gravy packet. If you don't have a brown gravy packet, it's 3 tablespoons of this powder, Italian seasoning like salad dressing packet, and a ranch packet, buttermilk ranch. You could use regular. So you're gonna mix all these seasonings in a half cup of water. I'm using a chuck roast. You notice that my roast is frozen. I put it in early in the morning, poured that sauce all on top, and just let it cook all day, like probably up to 10 hours. So with the roast being done, I strained it into this pot. I got all the fat out. Then I started to boil it and put some cornstarch in with water. And now it's a nice, thick but not too thick gravy. And Derek is slicing it up and putting it back in the crock pot, and then we'll pour the gravy all over it. Okay, we have mashed potatoes that I did in the Instapot. Fill it up with potatoes, 12 minutes, probably about 3/4 cup water. Asparagus, I grilled it up in a pan with just some olive oil, salt, pepper, and some vegetable seasoning. We had a lot more, but we were eating it out of the pan. Your good old salad, and then the yummy roast with all that gravy. There it is. It's so good. It's so flavorful. It's one of our favorite meals.
There it is.
There it is. So you're supposed to add like a Lipton onion soup packet to this while it's browning, but I was debating if I wanted to add it later because of the grease, but all right, I'll add it now. So I guess you're supposed to do that together in the beginning. Because I just figure when I'm draining it, aren't I losing some of the flavor? I don't know. What would you guys have done? Okay, drain any fat that you may have. And now, everything else, you could do this in one pot, like I've said. But I want to add this into my slow cooker. So now at this point, I'm going to add this into the slow cooker and add all the beans and the tomato sauces and everything in there. To this big pot, I'm adding kidney beans, pinto beans, stewed tomatoes, tomato sauce, and tomato paste. Also, I'm going to be adding some brown sugar. We're also going to use a packet of mild chili seasoning and a packet of hot. You can make your own seasoning. I'm also going to be using some cumin, some chili powder, and some red pepper flakes. The recipe calls for 32 ounces of tomato sauce, so I only need 2 cans of this. Also, the recipe says 2 32-ounce cans of water, so I'm just going to rinse these out and get water in here. For the stewed tomatoes, I'm only gonna use 2 cans. I'm not gonna do 3 because 2 is close enough to 32 ounces. I'm just taking my knife and I'm cutting the tomatoes just a little bit more. I'm adding the 2 cans of tomato paste. All right, here's the start of the water. Oh boy. I need to add more water, but I am very cautious about it. So this is gonna be tricky, just stirring it in here. You guys, we've only made this on the stovetop, but I want to turn this into a crock pot dish, and you are seeing me do it for the first time right now. All right, I'm rinsing and draining the beans. The recipe doesn't say so, but that's what I'm gonna do. Seasoning pan. The recipe says Mexican chili powder. Is that the same as chili powder? I have no idea. But I'm just gonna put some in there. I'm also gonna put a few dashes of red pepper flakes, and then 1 1/2 teaspoons of cumin. You can also add what the recipe calls for jalapeno pepper sauce. I don't know what that is. I didn't go looking for it, so my mom says she doesn't use it, so I guess I'm not missing anything, right? The recipe calls for a cup of brown sugar. I don't know. I do remember my mom's recipe being really sweet, and I don't know if I want that much sugar in it. I'm putting a 1/2 cup, and then once it starts bubbling away and has been going for a while, I'm gonna taste this, and if I decide, yeah, it does need more, I will, but all right, this is just going to cook on high. You could do it on low. I mean, I'm used to doing this over the stovetop, so I'm just gonna cook this on high for a few hours and then go from there. I could always move it on low. I know the recipe called for more water, but I'm definitely not. I think it's gonna be fine. I don't think I'm gonna need more water. So I'm gonna leave it like this, put a cover on it, and it's gonna cook on high, or you could do low all day long, but I'm gonna start mine on high and just let it do its thing.
Here is the chili. And this is the next day that I'm serving it up. What I ended up doing was I made the chili the same night that I made clam chowder for dinner to film for you guys. So tonight we're eating it, and let me just tell you, it tastes so good the next day. It tastes so different from last night. I love it so much better today. I did end up adding a little bit more sugar, but this is so good. I have some Monterey Jack cheese in there and some green onions, and then we have some cornbread. But you guys, seriously, this is so good the next day. So give this a try. It's absolutely delicious.
All right, friends, definitely let me know where you would tweak, what to do, where to add. I definitely want to know. And in the comments below, what are some of your favorite recipes that you love to do in the slow cooker, crock pot? Like, what are your go-to? Put them down below. Give us some ideas so we know what we could put in our meal rotation. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Growing up, tomato paste was always a staple in our pantry. When I was little, I loved going into my Grammy's pantry. She had it in this really cute nook, and I would open this cute little cupboard, and she would have all her Italian stuff in there to cook with, and I thought the little cans were absolutely adorable. And I would play market in there. Oh geez.